Hello and welcome to this video which is going with my blog post 5 simple productivity hacks for freelance mamas who hate hacks, because I hate the word hacks. It really irritates me, but you know, it's descriptive and it does what it says on the tin. So I'm looking over here because this is where the blog post is and where I need to stick to a semblance of a script. When I had my daughter, who is now just over 2, that's when I really learnt that all those things that they tell you, like you're so much more efficient when you have a kid, and work around their naps, all of that nonsense, that was nonsense for me. That does not work for me. I didn't become more productive. I'm still not really naturally any more productive just because I've got a kid. I've just got less time to do my work, and I now have to pay to have work time basically. But I've been kind of working around Anais, not around her naps because we have childcare, but I've been working around her rhythms and trying out different things. And I've had a full-time job since, well, I went back to work after maternity leave, which is about 18 months ago now. And I've been doing it, I've been hitting my income goals, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, but it hasn't always been easy. I haven't always enjoyed it. It hasn't always worked for the family. It certainly hasn't always worked for me. But I've kind of hit a bit of a groove and it seems to be working. And I just wanted to share some of the things that help me to be more productive. So, Anais goes to nursery Monday to Friday, 8 till 1. I pick her up at 1. She used to go down for a nap between kind of 1:30 till 3, but now she's not napping. So I have 3 hours, 3-4 hours to work a day, which is more than enough for me at the moment. The reason why it's more than enough for me is because of these things I'm going to tell you about. So number 1, childcare, obviously. I haven't always had full-time childcare. I started off with a day and a half, so I had 1 full day and 1 half day. Then I went to 2 days. There was a month where I was crazy busy with consulting work and all sorts of things, and she was in full-time for 4 weeks, 8 till 6. That was intense for all of us, and I can't say that we particularly enjoyed it, and it was really expensive, but it had to be done. We don't have any support from our family, who don't live very nearby at all. Occasionally they might come down and babysit for a few hours, but it's never been a reliable source of, it's not something that I can rely on for, you know, regular work. But what we have found is kind of flexing her hours in a nursery as opposed to a childminder, and then occasionally topping up with a babysitter, because we've got a few regular babysitters that we use, who we really trust, have used for a long time. One of them even works at the nursery. She's amazing. Using them to kind of plug any gaps, like if I have to go to London in the evening, my husband doesn't get home till 7, but I would normally have to leave at about 5 to get there. We normally plug in those gaps with a babysitter, and that is very rare. It's probably once every other month we need a few extra hours of babysitting. So that's our situation. That's what works for us. I'm pregnant at the moment, so we'll see what happens when baby number 2 arrives, but I'm not planning on working until next year anyway. Anyway, that's not really a hack. That's just my number 1 tip, is to find some form of childcare. I just don't buy into the idea of working around naps. I think it does work for some people. I don't know. I think it's really hard. It's the headspace it takes to be switching on and like between being mum and being at work. I found that too much. I couldn't be productive while doing that. Anyway, the next thing is Pomodoro. So the Pomodoro Technique is something that somebody came up with in the 80s. I've written correct citations in the blog post. Link will be in the show notes. Show notes? Link will be... I've got podcasts, that's why I say show notes. Link will be in the description. The Pomodoro Technique basically kind of works on the principle that we need to work on one thing at a time for short chunks. So although you can get, if you just look up Pomodoro timer online, you'll find lots of online timers where it will say, an arbitrary amount of time, 25 minutes. But really I don't think it really matters the time you choose. Some people might choose half an hour or 40 minutes. I think it's just about a bite-sized chunk, long enough for you to do one task, but not so long that your mind starts to wander. So I do 3 chunks of 25 minutes, no more than 4, with 5-minute breaks in between each one. And then at the end of my 3 or 4 chunks, I'll take 15 minutes before I move on to the next task. That's what I do, and I've found it works really, really well. I get stuff done, and it also forces me to think about the time each task actually realistically takes, because you know what it's like. You'll put things on your to-do list and think, I'll do that tomorrow, and perhaps you think sending an email will take 10 minutes, but actually it takes 25. If you don't anticipate those extra minutes, you can easily get to the bottom of your to-do list in 3 weeks' time as opposed to at the end of a day. And that's really disheartening, I think. Prepare. So preparation for me is key with motherhood. So when Anais first moved up from 8 till 4 to 8 till 1, I would always get cut short at about 12:30 when I'm like, oh, bugger, I need to go pick her up. I haven't got any snacks prepared for her. Where's my bag? Where's my coat? And I would end up just like faffing around, being late to pick her up. Anyway, so now when I make breakfast in the morning, because I tend not to start work until 9 a.m, I normally do a bit of yoga in the morning, have my breakfast and then start at 9. It's just boundaries for me. I prepare her snacks as well. It doesn't take me so long because I make coffee with a coffee pourer. I normally do it in the time that it takes for my coffee to drip through the filter. And preparation is also key for me when it comes to preparing my task list. I don't like to start the day not knowing what I've got planned. So I tend to do that the night before, and that forms part of my tasks. It now only takes me genuinely about 5 minutes to just look at what I've got and what I need to do for the day. And I make sure that I put in for each block, and there really won't be much more than 4 things on my list. I'll put in 1 Pomodoro timer or 2 Pomodoro timers, however long I think it will take. And if it looks like it's going to take 4 or 5 Pomodoro timers, I basically then look at the task and think, how can I break that up into 2 or 3 things? Find your flow. Okay, so I'm not talking about working in flow or, manifesting or high vibes and all that good stuff. I'm basically just talking about when you work best. So I know that I do my best work in the morning, first thing. When I say my best work, that's not correct. I do my best kind of strategic planning, that sort of work, first thing in the morning. So I tend to do any content planning or any kind of photo editing, sketching out ideas for courses, those sorts of things. Also, I'll do admin-y stuff like emails, my accounts. I'll always do them first thing in the morning. My brain is just a bit sharper then. In the afternoon, if I have any time in the afternoon, I will write. That seems to be when I do better with writing. It just flows a lot easier. And I'd never put a blog post out that I hadn't gone back and edited, but I will do my editing in the morning. Ideally when I've left a big enough gap between the initial writing and then the first edit. That works for me, and I really, really don't like to work past 5 because, especially at the moment, being pregnant, my brain just switches off. In fact, I think really my brain switches off at about 3, but I can still do odds and sods. Do less stuff. This is probably the best thing I've ever learned, is prioritising and just ditching things that aren't going to serve me. And sometimes that means saying no to things that you'd really like to do but just aren't going to advance, aren't going to serve you. And it doesn't always have to be a hard no. It might be a, I'm really sorry, but I can't do that this month. Can we come back to it next month? I've also had to say no to meeting up with people sometimes because it just doesn't work. I've only got a few hours each day, a few precious hours where I can get my work done, and I don't really want to spend that time paying for coffee, having coffee with a friend. Sometimes I do though, and that's okay too, but overall, saying no and doing less stuff has been a bit of a game changer for me. So that's it. I hope you liked those productivity hacks. So I don't know if they're really productivity hacks, but anyway, give it a thumbs up if you liked it. I'm not really on YouTube very much. I tend to just create videos if they work in a blog post, if they're gonna enhance the blog post, but I am making more videos, so it's probably worth subscribing and sticking around. Also, my podcast, What She Said, which is all about blogging, creativity and life online, I deliver that to YouTube every Monday, as well as Spotify, Acast, Stitcher, Google Play, of course Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts too. Okay, have a nice day. May it be productive.